The front door creaks as I push it open, the early morning light spilling into the hallway. My feet are sore, my head buzzing with the remnants of last night's drinks, and the only thing on my mind is crawling into bed next to him. It was supposed to be a harmless girls' night out, one last wild fling before settling back into the routine of marriage. But things got out of hand. I can still feel the heat of their bodies against mine, the thrill of doing something I shouldn't have, the way my pulse quickened as I crossed lines that were never meant to be crossed. I moved quietly through the house, the silence feeling heavier than usual. I toss my purse onto the counter and head for the stairs, kicking off my heels along the way. My mind flashes back to the night's events, the laughter, the drinks, the way I let go of all the frustration I've been carrying for so long. My marriage to Derek has been comfortable, maybe too comfortable. We've fallen into a routine that feels more like roommates than lovers. The passion that once consumed us has faded, leaving me hungry for something more, something different. And last night, I found it. I'm not proud of it, but there's a part of me that doesn't regret it either. Not entirely. I've been craving excitement, and last night I got it in spades. But as I climb the stairs, a flicker of guilt gnaws at me. What if Derek finds out? I brush the thought away. No one from the party would ever tell. And Derek, well, he's always been so trusting, so oblivious. At the top of the stairs, I pause. His side of the bed is empty, the covers still neatly in place. My heart skips a beat. He never leaves the bed like that. Always pulls the covers back, even when he's up before me. I stand there for a moment, the eerie quiet of the house sinking into my bones. Something feels off, wrong in a way I can't quite put my finger on. I walk over to the bed, pulling back the covers just to feel the cold, untouched sheets beneath my fingers. Panic flares, quick and sharp. Where is he? I grab my phone, quickly texting him, asking where he is. No response. I try to calm myself, convincing myself that it's nothing, that I'm just being paranoid. But deep down, I know. Something is coming. I can feel it like a storm brewing on the horizon. I crawl into bed, pulling the covers up to my chin, staring at the ceiling as the silence of the house closes in around me. I tell myself it's all in my head, that Derek is just out for a run or maybe an early meeting. But as I lie there, my mind racing, I can't shake the feeling that everything is about to change. I wake up to the sound of dishes clinking in the kitchen. For a moment, I'm disoriented, unsure if I'm dreaming or awake. The bed is cold beside me, and the reality of last night's events floods back. My heart pounds as I swing my legs out of bed, my stomach churning with a mix of fear and guilt. I move slowly, almost cautiously, as if delaying the inevitable confrontation. As I walk down the stairs, I try to rehearse what I'll say. I'll apologize, of course. I'll explain it away as a stupid mistake, a one-time lapse in judgment fueled by too much alcohol and too little self-control. But deep down, I know it's more than that. It's a symptom of something broken, something I've been ignoring for too long. I reach the bottom of the stairs and turn the corner into the kitchen. My father is sitting at the table, his back to me, staring intently at something on the laptop in front of him. My breath catches in my throat when I see him. He's not supposed to be here. Why is he here? Dad? My voice is shaky, barely above a whisper. He doesn't respond immediately, just sits there, still as a statue. Then slowly he turns his head to look at me. His face is pale, his eyes cold and hard, a look I've never seen before. He doesn't speak, just reaches out and turns the laptop toward me. I can't look away. On the screen, I see myself, half naked, caught in the act with two men from last night's party. It's all there, every sordid detail. My knees go weak, and I feel like I'm going to be sick. The room spins around me, my world crumbling in an instant. Do you have anything to say for yourself? His voice is low, controlled, but the anger beneath it is palpable. Dad, My voice cracks, and I swallow hard, trying to find the words. But there are no words, nothing that can explain or excuse what I've done. You've shamed our family, he says, cutting me off. Your husband came to me last night. He showed me this, and then he left. He left you. He stands up, towering over me, his presence suddenly suffocating. And he gave me these. He pulls out an envelope from his pocket and thrusts it into my hands. I don't need to open it to know what it is. Divorce papers. My hands shake as I clutch the envelope, my mind racing. Derek left. He's gone. He knows. And now my father knows. My life is unraveling before my eyes, and I'm powerless to stop it. I don't even know who you are anymore, my father says, his voice heavy with disappointment. You're not the daughter I raised. He turns and walks out of the kitchen, leaving me standing there, alone and broken. The silence in the house is deafening. I stand there for what feels like an eternity, the envelope heavy in my hands, the weight of my actions crushing me. My mind is a whirlwind of thoughts. How did he find out? Why did he go to my father? How could I let this happen? I feel like I'm drowning, gasping for air but finding none. I rush to the living room and grab my phone, dialing Derek's number with trembling fingers. It rings and rings, but he doesn't answer. I try again, and again, each time more desperate than the last. Finally, I leave a voicemail, my voice shaking. Derek, please, I'm sorry. Let's talk about this. Please, just come home. We can fix this. I'll do anything. But even as I speak the words, I know it's futile. He's gone, and he's not coming back. I collapse onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. My mind races, trying to piece together what I can do, how I can fix this. But nothing makes sense. I feel like I'm in a nightmare, but I can't wake up. The reality is too harsh, too final. The life I knew is over, and I'm left with nothing but regret and the cold, hard truth of my betrayal. I try to think clearly, to figure out my next move. Maybe I can convince Derek to come back, to forgive me. Maybe there's still a chance. But as the hours pass and the silence of the house becomes unbearable, the reality sinks in deeper. I've lost him. I've lost everything. My phone buzzes and I snatch it up, hoping it's Derek. But it's not. It's a text from one of the women at the party, a cryptic message asking if I'm okay. I stare at the screen, the words blurring as tears well up in my eyes. How did it all go so wrong? How did I let this happen? I ignore the text and call my best friend Tara, but she doesn't pick up either. I leave her a voicemail too, trying to keep my voice steady. Tara, it's me. I need to talk to you. Call me back, please. I try calling a few more friends, but no one answers. It's as if the entire world has turned its back on me, leaving me to face the consequences of my actions alone. I'm suffocating in the silence, the loneliness pressing down on me like a weight I can't lift. As the day drags on, I start searching through my phone, looking for any clue, any sign that might explain how Derek found out. There's nothing. No messages, no missed calls, no hint that anything was wrong before this morning. It's like he knew all along and was just waiting for the right moment to strike. My mind drifts back to the party, to the men I was with. Did one of them say something? Did someone take a video and send it to him? I try to remember, but the night is a blur of alcohol and bad decisions. I hate myself for being so careless, for letting things get so out of control. By the time evening comes, I'm exhausted, my body and mind drained from the emotional turmoil. I've called Derek's number more times than I can count, each time more desperate, but he never answers. I even tried calling his work, but they said he wasn't in today. It's like he's vanished. I sit in the darkened living room, the divorce papers still unopened beside me. I can't bring myself to look at them, to face the reality that my marriage is over. I don't know what to do, where to go from here. The future feels like a black hole, swallowing everything I thought I knew. I think about my father, the look of disappointment in his eyes. He didn't even try to comfort me, didn't offer any words of support. He just handed me the papers and walked away, leaving me to deal with this mess on my own. I feel abandoned, betrayed by everyone I thought I could count on. The house is too quiet, too empty. I can't stand it anymore. I grab my keys and leave, not even knowing where I'm going. I just need to get out, to escape the suffocating silence and the crushing weight of my guilt. I drive aimlessly for a while, my mind numb, until I find myself parked outside Derek's office. It's late, and the building is dark, but I can't help but hope he's there, working late like he sometimes does. I get out of the car and walk to the entrance, but the doors are locked, the lights off. He's not here. I stand there for a long time, staring at the building, trying to make sense of everything. But there are no answers, no easy solutions. I'm alone in this, and I have no idea what to do next. Finally, I drive back home, the empty house greeting me like a tomb. I curl up on the couch, too tired to move, too drained to cry anymore. The silence presses in on me again, and I close my eyes, wishing for sleep to take me away from this nightmare. But sleep doesn't come. The night stretches on, long and torturous, as I lie there, trapped in the wreckage of my life, with no idea how to put the pieces back together. I start with the most obvious step, trying to reach Derek. He can't just disappear like this. I call him again and again, but each attempt ends the same way, with the empty, mocking tone of voicemail. My messages are desperate now, pleading, but there's no response. I'm suffocating under the silence, every unanswered call driving me deeper into panic. Where is he? Why won't he just talk to me? I move on to my next option, my friends from last night, but they're not much help either. My texts go ignored, and when I do manage to get one of them on the phone, they're distant, evasive. It's clear they've heard something or seen something that makes them uncomfortable. I sense judgment in their voices, a coldness that wasn't there before. They tell me to give Derek some space, to let things cool down. But how can I? I need to fix this now, before it spirals even further out of control. The thought of him watching that video over and over eats at me. I feel sick every time I picture it, the way his face must have twisted in anger, in betrayal. My stomach churns and I can barely keep the bile down. I spend hours pacing the house, my mind spinning in endless circles, trying to figure out what to do next. By late afternoon, I realize I need help, legal help. If Derek is serious about this divorce, I need to be prepared. But even as I make the appointment with a lawyer, the dread builds inside me. What if the video is used against me? What if it's already out there, spreading like wildfire? The thought of everyone I know, my family, my colleagues, seeing me like that sends a shiver down my spine. The night comes, and with it, the unbearable loneliness. I can't stay here, surrounded by all the memories of us. I need to get out, to clear my head. I grab my keys and drive aimlessly through the city, the lights blurring past me. I end up at the bar where we used to go for drinks after work, hoping for some familiarity, some comfort. But the place feels different now, tainted by the knowledge of what I've done. I sit at the bar, nursing a drink, lost in thought. It's here, in the haze of alcohol and regret, that I start to piece things together. Derek's reaction, the way he went straight to my father, it feels calculated, like he's been planning this. I remember the way he's been acting lately, distant, distracted. Has he been waiting for me to slip up? Did he already know what I was doing before that night? My head pounds with the questions, the implications. If he's been planning this, then he must have something else up his sleeve. The next day, I drag myself to my lawyer's office, feeling like a condemned woman. The lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, listens quietly as I explain the situation. She asks all the right questions, but I can see the judgment in her eyes. When I mention the video, she pauses, her expression hardening. "If that video gets out, it could destroy you," she says bluntly. "Not just in the divorce, but socially, professionally. You need to find out exactly what your husband plans to do with it, and fast." Her words hit me like a slap. I realize then just how precarious my situation is. Derek holds all the cards, and he knows it. He can ruin me with the click of a button. I leave the office feeling more trapped than ever, the weight of the situation pressing down on me like a vice. I spend the next few days trying to find Derek, but it's like he's vanished off the face of the earth. His phone is still off, and his social media accounts have been deactivated. I even go to his office, but his colleagues claim they haven't seen him. It's as if he's erased himself from my life, leaving only the wreckage behind. Then the court summons arrives. I stare at the envelope for a long time before I open it, my hands trembling. It's real now, all of it. The divorce, the court battle, it's happening whether I'm ready or not. As I read through the documents, my blood runs cold. Derek isn't just seeking a divorce, he's coming for everything. He's using the video as leverage, claiming that my behavior makes me an unfit wife, that I'm morally corrupt. He's going to use my mistakes to strip me of everything: our home, our savings, my reputation. The sheer brutality of it leaves me breathless. I thought I could reason with him, that we could talk this out, but it's clear now that he's out for blood. This isn't just about ending our marriage. It's about destroying me. I slump down on the floor, the papers scattered around me, and sob. It's all too much. The shame, the fear, the overwhelming sense of betrayal. It crushes me, leaves me gasping for air. I thought I knew Derek, thought I understood the man I married, but this is something else entirely. This is a man I don't recognize, a man who wants to see me suffer. Days blur together as I try to figure out what to do. I meet with my lawyer again, and she lays out my options, but none of them are good. The best I can hope for is to mitigate the damage, to salvage what little I can from the wreckage of my life. But even that seems like a long shot, given the evidence Derek has. My father refuses to speak to me, his disappointment evident in the few curt texts he sends in response to my attempts at reconciliation. I'm cut off from my family, from my friends, from everything that once gave me a sense of belonging. It feels like I'm drowning, sinking deeper into a pit of despair with no way out. And then, just when I think it can't get any worse, I receive an email. It's from a blocked address with no subject line. I almost delete it, thinking it's spam, but something makes me open it. Inside, there's a single line of text. More to come if you don't play nice. Attached is another video, this one even more damning than the first. It's clear, explicit, and utterly devastating. I watch in horror as I see myself from a different angle, the camera capturing every detail, every movement. This one wasn't taken at the party. It's from a night weeks ago, in a hotel room I barely remember checking into. Derek's been watching me for longer than I thought. He's been building a case, collecting evidence, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And now he's letting me know that there's more where that came from. The room spins around me as I process the implications. He's not just trying to destroy me, he's enjoying it. This is a game to him, a twisted power play where he holds all the pieces. I can feel the walls closing in, my options shrinking with every passing minute. But something inside me snaps. I'm done playing his game, done being the victim. If Derek wants a fight, I'll give him one. I'll find out how deep this betrayal goes, and I'll turn the tables on him. I'm not going to let him ruin me. I refuse to go down without a fight. I wipe my tears away and pick up my phone. It's time to start digging, to find out what Derek's been up to and how I can use it against him. I might be alone in this, but I'm not powerless. I'll fight back, no matter what it takes. I walk into the courtroom, my stomach churning. The cold air hits me like a slap, making my breath hitch. My lawyer, a tall, stern woman named Rebecca, walks beside me, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Her confidence is a stark contrast to the anxiety gnawing at me. I can feel the weight of everyone's eyes as I enter, and I have to force myself to keep moving forward, even though all I want to do is turn around and run. Derek is already seated at the plaintiff's table. He doesn't look at me as I approach, his gaze fixed straight ahead. He's dressed sharply, his expression unreadable. The man I loved, the man I thought I knew, looks like a stranger. My heart aches with the realization that this is how far we've fallen. The judge enters, and everyone stands. I can barely register the words being spoken as the trial begins. The formalities feel like a blur, a prelude to the real pain that is about to unfold. My hands are clenched into fists under the table, my knuckles white. Rebecca leans over, whispering, "Stay calm. Let them make their move first." But staying calm is impossible. Every second stretches out, the anticipation suffocating. I can feel my pulse pounding in my ears as Derek's lawyer stands up, a smirk playing on his lips. He's been waiting for this, relishing it. "We have evidence, Your Honor," the lawyer begins, his voice smooth and confident, "that the defendant has engaged in repeated acts of infidelity. This video," he holds up a flash drive, is just one example of her moral corruption. I want to scream, to deny it all, but I know it's useless. The truth is on that video, and there's no escaping it. The judge nods and the video begins to play on the screen. I force myself to watch, even though every instinct tells me to look away. It's worse than I remember, more graphic, more damning. The room is silent, the tension thick enough to choke on. I can't bear to look at Derek, but I can feel his satisfaction radiating across the room. The video ends and the judge's expression is unreadable. My lawyer stands up, doing her best to minimize the damage, but I can tell by the way the judge's lips tighten that the impact is severe. My heart sinks as I realize how deep I've dug this hole for myself. Derek is called to testify, and I finally force myself to look at him. He takes the stand with a calmness that makes my skin crawl. His lawyer guides him through a series of questions, painting a picture of a man wronged by a deceitful wife. He talks about our marriage, about how I betrayed him, but there's a coldness in his voice that wasn't there before. I loved her, Derek says, his voice steady, but she broke our vows, over and over. I couldn't take it anymore. There's a tremor in his voice, a hint of emotion that tugs at the judge's sympathy. I can see the effect it's having, the way the jury leans in, their expressions softening. Derek's playing them perfectly, turning himself into the victim. And then it's my turn. I stand, my legs shaking, and walk to the witness stand. The room feels like it's closing in on me, the walls pressing down until I can hardly breathe. I glance at Derek as I sit down, but he's not looking at me. He's staring straight ahead as if I don't exist. The prosecutor steps forward, a shark ready to tear me apart. His questions are brutal, each one designed to twist the knife deeper. He forces me to recount every detail of my betrayal, making me relive it all in front of a room full of strangers. "Did you love your husband?" he asks, his voice laced with contempt. "Yes," I say, my voice trembling. "I still do. Yet you chose to cheat on him. Repeatedly. How do you reconcile that?" I open my mouth to respond, but the words catch in my throat. How do I reconcile it? How do I explain the loneliness, the disillusionment that pushed me into the arms of others? How do I make them understand that I was searching for something I couldn't even name? "I was lost," I finally say, my voice barely above a whisper. "I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but I never stopped loving him." The prosecutor scoffs, turning to the judge. "Your Honor, it's clear that this woman is morally bankrupt. She doesn't deserve the assets she's fighting for. She doesn't deserve anything." His words sting, each one a slap across the face. The judge's gaze is heavy as he looks at me, weighing my words, my actions. I can feel the judgment, the disdain, and it takes everything in me not to break down. Rebecca stands up for cross-examination, her voice sharp and cutting. She turns the tables, questioning Derek's motivations, pointing out the calculated nature of his actions. She brings up the second video, the one sent to me as a threat, and the room shifts. The judge's expression tightens as the full extent of Derek's plan starts to become clear. But Derek's lawyer is quick to object, dismissing the second video as irrelevant. The judge allows it, and I feel the ground slipping away from me again. By the time the closing arguments are made, I'm exhausted, drained of everything. I sit there staring at the table, trying to hold on to some shred of hope. But it's hard when the person you thought you knew has turned into a monster, when the life you built is crumbling around you. The judge dismisses us, saying he'll need time to deliberate. I stand up on shaky legs, avoiding Derek's gaze as I leave the courtroom. I feel his eyes on me, cold and unforgiving, but I don't look back. Outside, the air is crisp, a sharp contrast to the suffocating atmosphere inside. I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself. But the weight of what just happened is crushing. Rebecca puts a hand on my shoulder, her expression unreadable. "We'll fight this," she says firmly. "It's not over yet." I nod, but I don't feel reassured. The truth is, I don't know if I have any fight left in me. I've been stripped bare, exposed to the world, and I'm not sure I can survive this. Derek has taken everything, my dignity, my reputation, my sense of self, and I'm not sure there's anything left to save. Days pass, each one stretching out into an eternity, As I wait for the judge's decision, I can't eat, can't sleep. My mind constantly replaying the trial, every word, every accusation. I'm haunted by the image of Derek on the stand, the way he twisted the knife with every calculated word. Then finally the call comes. Rebecca's voice is calm, too calm, as she delivers the news. The judge ruled in Derek's favor. He's awarded the house, most of our savings, and full custody of our dog. I'm left with nothing but the clothes on my back and a mountain of legal fees. I hang up the phone, my hands shaking. It's over. Everything I've fought for, everything I've tried to hold on to. It's all gone. Derek has won. The realization hits me like a punch to the gut, knocking the wind out of me. I collapse onto the couch, tears streaming down my face, my body racked with sobs. The pain is unbearable, a deep, gnawing ache that won't go away. But beneath the pain, something else is brewing. Anger. It starts as a small flicker, a spark that grows into a raging fire. Derek thinks he's won, but he doesn't know me as well as he thinks. He's underestimated me, and that's his biggest mistake. I wipe away my tears, a steely resolve settling over me. I won't let him destroy me. I won't let him walk away from this unscathed. There's more to this story, more than he's let on, and I'm going to find it. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. I'm done playing by Derek's rules. The fury that started as a spark has grown into a fire, burning away the last remnants of my fear. I'm going to find out what he's hiding and use it against him, just like he used my mistakes against me. It's time to stop being the victim. I start by hiring a private investigator, a man named Lucas who comes highly recommended. He's tall, gruff, and doesn't waste time on pleasantries. I meet him in a small cafe on the outskirts of town, somewhere discreet. He listens as I explain the situation, his face unreadable. When I finish, he nods, leaning back in his chair. "Sounds like your husband's been planning this for a while," he says, his voice low and gravelly. "If he's got dirt on you, there's a good chance he's got skeletons in his own closet. We just need to find them." It's exactly what I need to hear. I give him all the details I can remember about Derek's recent behavior, every odd interaction, every suspicious text. Lucas takes notes, asking pointed questions that make me realize just how little I knew about Derek's life outside our marriage. "I'll start digging," he says as we stand to leave. "This could take some time, but I'll find something." I nod, feeling a strange sense of relief. It's the first time in weeks that I've felt like I have some control over the situation. As I watch Lucas walk away, I make a silent vow to myself. I won't let Derek get away with this. He's underestimated me, and that's going to be his downfall. Days turn into weeks as I wait for Lucas to uncover something useful. The tension is unbearable, each day stretching out longer than the last. I throw myself into the investigation, poring over old emails, bank statements, anything that might give me a clue about Derek's secrets. My life has become a labyrinth of unanswered questions, each one leading me deeper into the darkness of our failed marriage. And then, just when I'm starting to lose hope, Lucas calls. "I've found something," he says, his voice clipped. "Meet me at the office." I rush to his office, my heart pounding. Lucas doesn't waste time with small talk. He slides a file across the desk, his expression grim. "Your husband's been busy," he says, flipping open the file. "He's been funneling money into offshore accounts, hiding assets. But that's not the worst of it." He hands me a stack of photos, each one more damning than the last. Derek with another woman in places he was never supposed to be. Expensive hotels, luxury cars, and intimate moments captured by Lucas's camera. My stomach churns as I flip through the images, the betrayal cutting deeper than I thought possible. "He's been having an affair," Lucas says, stating the obvious. "And it's been going on for a lot longer than you've suspected." I'm not surprised, not really, but seeing the proof, seeing Derek with another woman, ignites a new level of rage. He was so busy condemning me, so quick to paint me as the villain, all while he was doing the exact same thing. "This isn't just about the affair," Lucas continues, pulling out another document. "He's been making shady deals on the side too, business dealings that could land him in serious trouble if they came to light." I take the papers, scanning them quickly. It's all there, in black and white, evidence of Derek's infidelity, his lies, and his criminal activities. He thought he could control the narrative, but he didn't count on me fighting back. Can we use this in court? I ask, my voice steady for the first time in weeks. Lucas nods. With this, we can turn the tables. Your husband's not as invincible as he thinks. The next few days are a whirlwind of preparations. Rebecca, my lawyer, is thrilled with the new evidence. She's a shark in the courtroom, and with this ammunition, she's ready to tear Derek apart. When the day of the court hearing finally arrives, I walk into the courtroom with my head held high. Derek is already there, sitting at his table with that same smug expression. But today, I'm not afraid. Today, I'm ready to fight. Rebecca presents the evidence with precision, laying out Derek's affairs, his hidden assets, his illegal dealings. The courtroom is silent as she speaks, the weight of her words settling over the room like a storm cloud. Derek's lawyer tries to object, but the judge allows the evidence, his expression growing darker with each revelation. Derek's face pales as the truth comes to light. For the first time, I see fear in his eyes, a crack in the facade he's been hiding behind. He's not as untouchable as he thought. When it's my turn to testify, I speak with a calmness I didn't know I possessed. I tell the court about the years of neglect, the emotional abuse, the way Derek systematically tore me down while he built up his own web of lies. I talk about the threats, the blackmail, the way he manipulated everyone around us to make me look like the villain. I made mistakes, I admit, my voice steady, but I'm not the only one who's guilty here. The judge listens, his expression unreadable, but I can see the shift in the room. The sympathy that Derek had carefully cultivated is slipping away, replaced by doubt, by suspicion. Rebecca's strategy is working. Derek's carefully constructed narrative is falling apart. When the hearing ends, we're told to wait for the judge's ruling. I leave the courtroom, my body tense with anticipation. It's out of my hands now, but I know I've done everything I can. For the first time in a long time, I feel a glimmer of hope. The ruling comes a week later. I sit in the courtroom, my heart in my throat as the judge reads out his decision. He's ruled in my favor. The evidence of Derek's infidelity, his hidden assets, and his criminal activities has turned the tide. The divorce is granted on my terms, with a substantial financial settlement. Derek is stripped of his assets, his reputation in ruins. As the judge finishes, I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. It's over. The nightmare is finally over. Derek storms out of the courtroom, his face twisted in anger. But I don't follow. I watch him go, feeling nothing but a strange sense of relief. He's not my problem anymore. I've won. Later that night, I returned to the house, the one place I thought I'd never feel safe in again. It's empty, the silence heavy but not suffocating. I walk through the rooms, each one filled with memories, some good, some bad. But they're just memories now, ghosts of a life that no longer belongs to me. I stand in the middle of the living room, looking around at the space that once felt like a prison. Now it feels different. It feels like freedom. I start packing my things, taking only what I need. The rest can stay, a relic of a life I'm ready to leave behind. As I pack, I feel a strange sense of closure, like I'm finally putting the pieces of my shattered life back together. The last thing I do is take down the wedding photo that's been hanging in the hallway. I stare at it for a moment, at the faces of two people who no longer exist. Then I put it in the box, closing the lid on that chapter of my life. When I leave the house for the last time, I don't look back. There's nothing for me here anymore. My future is waiting, and I'm ready to face it. I move to a new city, start a new life. It's not easy. There are days when the pain still lingers, when the scars feel too deep to heal. But I'm stronger now, wiser. I've been through hell, but I've come out the other side. I find a new job, make new friends, start to rebuild. It's a slow process, but each day feels like a step forward. I'm not the same person I was before, and that's okay. I'm learning to live with the changes, to embrace them. One evening, as I sit on the balcony of my new apartment, watching the city lights flicker in the distance, I feel a sense of peace I haven't felt in years. The road ahead is still uncertain, But for the first time, I'm not afraid of what's to come. I've faced my demons, fought my battles, and survived. Now it's time to start living again. I sit across from Derek in the sterile conference room, the tension between us thick and suffocating. His lawyer is beside him, but she's as cold and unreadable as ever. My lawyer Rebecca sits next to me, her presence a steadying force. She's ready to dismantle him with the evidence we've gathered. But this meeting isn't just about legal maneuvering, it's personal. Derek's eyes are hard, his face set in that familiar mask of disdain. I can see the faint flicker of unease beneath his calm exterior, though. He wasn't expecting this. He wasn't expecting me to fight back. I take a deep breath, steadying my nerves, and meet his gaze. "We know everything, Derek," I say, my voice firm. "The affair, the offshore accounts, the shady business deals. We have it all." His jaw tightens, but he doesn't respond immediately. His lawyer shifts uncomfortably, glancing at the file in front of Rebecca. She knows as well as he does that this changes everything. Rebecca leans forward, her tone measured but laced with authority. "The evidence we've collected is more than enough to bring criminal charges against you, Derek. Fraud, tax evasion, money laundering. Need I go on?" Derek's facade cracks, just for a moment, but it's enough. He knows he's cornered. I watch the realization sink in, see the wheels turning in his mind as he scrambles to figure out his next move. "What do you want?" he finally asks, his voice low, defeated. I exchange a quick glance with Rebecca before answering. "A fair settlement. You drop the demands for alimony, you let me keep the house, and you take responsibility for your own debts. In return, we won't take this to the authorities. We keep it quiet." He sneers, but there's no power behind it anymore. He's lost, and he knows it. "And if I refuse?" Rebecca doesn't miss a beat. "If you refuse, we file a formal complaint with the IRS, and your little empire crumbles. You'll be looking at prison time, Derek." Silence stretches across the room. Derek's fingers drum on the table, his gaze flickering between me and his lawyer. He's weighing his options, but we both know there's only one way this ends. Finally, he sighs, a sound full of resignation. "Fine," he mutters, looking down at his hands. "You win." The words hit me like a release, the tension in my chest easing just a bit. But it's not over yet. There's still the paperwork, the signatures, the final legal hurdles to clear. But in this moment, I know I've won. I've taken back the power he tried to steal from me. The meeting wraps up quickly after that. Derek's lawyer, her face tight with frustration, agrees to the terms. They'll draft the new settlement and have it ready for us to sign by the end of the week. As they leave, Derek avoids my eyes, his shoulders slumped in defeat. Once they're gone, Rebecca turns to me, her expression softening. "You did it," she says, a hint of pride in her voice. "He didn't stand a chance." I nod, feeling the weight of the past few months start to lift. It's a strange sensation, this mixture of relief and emptiness. The fight is over, but the scars it's left behind are still fresh, still tender. The next few days pass in a blur of legal documents and final negotiations. Derek agrees to everything, and the divorce is finalized with far more favorable terms than I ever expected. I get the house, a portion of our joint savings, and no more threats of legal ruin hanging over my head. But as I pack up the last of Derek's things, boxing up the remnants of our life together, I can't shake the hollow feeling that lingers in the corners of my mind. I've won the battle, but the war has taken its toll. My trust, my sense of self, the woman I used to be, those are all casualties of this twisted game he played. The day Derek comes to collect his things is cold and gray, matching the somber mood that hangs over the house. I don't see him. I make sure I'm gone when he arrives, leaving the door unlocked for him to come and go without any awkward confrontations. When I return, the house feels emptier, the silence heavier. I walk through the rooms, each one echoing with memories, both good and bad. The bed we shared, the kitchen where we used to laugh and cook together, the living room where we spent countless nights watching movies. It all feels tainted now, stained by the lies and betrayals that unraveled our life together. But there's also a strange sense of peace in this emptiness. It's a clean slate, a chance to start over. As I stand in the middle of the living room, looking around at the space that once felt so suffocating, I realize that I'm ready to move on. I make the decision to sell the house. It's too full of ghosts, too burdened with the weight of a past I'm ready to leave behind. Rebecca helps me with the paperwork, and within a few weeks, the house is on the market. It sells quickly, and I find myself standing on the threshold of a new chapter. I move to a new city, somewhere fresh and untainted by the memories of what happened. It's a small apartment, nothing fancy, but it's mine, and that's what matters. The first night in my new place, I sit on the balcony, looking out at the city lights, and feel a sense of freedom I haven't felt in years. My new life starts slowly, cautiously. I find a job, something low-key and stable, far removed from the chaos of my old life. I meet new people, make new friends, but I keep my past close, a reminder of the lessons I've learned, the battles I've fought. I'm careful now, more guarded, but also stronger, more resilient. My father reaches out a few months later. It's a tentative phone call, full of awkward pauses and stilted conversation, but it's a start. He apologizes for the way he reacted, for shutting me out when I needed him most. I can hear the regret in his voice, the pain of a man who realizes he was too harsh, too quick to judge. I just didn't know how to handle it, he says, his voice thick with emotion. I was angry, disappointed, but I never stopped loving you. I know, Dad, I reply, my own voice wavering. I'm sorry, too, for everything. We talk for a while, finding our way back to some semblance of the relationship we once had. It's not perfect, and there are still wounds that need time to heal, but it's a step in the right direction. We agree to meet for dinner the next time I'm in town, and for the first time in a long time, I feel a glimmer of hope for the future. As for Derek, I hear bits and pieces about his life through mutual acquaintances. His business is struggling, his reputation in tatters. The woman he was seeing has left him, and he's facing multiple legal battles of his own. I take no pleasure in his downfall, but there's a certain satisfaction in knowing that justice, in its own way, has been served. I settle into my new life, embracing the quiet, the simplicity. It's a far cry from the chaos and drama of the past year, but it's exactly what I need. I spend my evenings on the balcony, watching the city come to life as the sun sets, and I think about how far I've come, how much I've survived. There are still moments when the pain resurfaces, when the memories threaten to pull me under. But I've learned how to navigate those dark waters, how to find my way back to the light. I'm not the same person I was before all this happened, and that's okay. I'm stronger now, more aware of my own worth, my own power. One day, as I'm walking down a bustling city street, I catch a glimpse of myself in a shop window. The woman staring back at me is different, older, wiser, but also freer, more at peace. I smile, a real, genuine smile, and keep walking, blending into the crowd. The past is behind me and the future is wide open, full of possibilities. I'm ready to face whatever comes next. The city buzzes with life around me as I walk down the street, blending into the crowd. I've been through so much, but somehow I'm still here, standing tall, moving forward. The weight of the past clings to me, but it doesn't suffocate me like it used to. I feel a strange sense of peace as I reflect on everything that's happened. Derek's downfall was brutal, but it was inevitable. He thought he could control everything, manipulate everyone, but in the end, his lies caught up with him. When I exposed his secrets, it wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity. He underestimated me, and that was his biggest mistake. The trial was exhausting, emotionally draining in ways I never imagined. But when the judge finally ruled in my favor, it was like a weight had been lifted. I walked out of that courtroom a free woman, the chains of my past finally broken. Derek's face as the verdict was read is something I'll never forget. The shock, the defeat. It was a moment of bitter satisfaction, but also one of sadness. We could have been so much more, but in the end, all we brought each other was pain. My relationship with my father is still strained, but we're making progress. He's trying, and so am I. It's not easy, rebuilding trust after everything that happened, but there's a tentative peace between us now. We've started meeting for coffee once a week, small steps towards mending what was broken. The anger and disappointment are still there, but so is the love, and that's what we're holding on to. My ex-husband, on the other hand, is a different story. He's facing legal and financial ruin, his carefully constructed world falling apart piece by piece. The woman he was seeing left him as soon as things got tough, and now he's alone, dealing with the consequences of his actions. I hear about his struggles through mutual acquaintances, but I keep my distance. I don't need to see him to know that he's paying for what he did. As for me, I've started fresh in a new city. The apartment is small, but it's mine, a symbol of the new life I'm building for myself. I've found a job that I enjoy, something stable and far removed from the chaos of my old life. It's not glamorous, but it's exactly what I need right now. Something that keeps me grounded, focused on the future. There are moments when the past still haunts me, when the memories threaten to pull me under. But I'm learning to let go, to focus on the present, on the possibilities that lie ahead. I've come to realize that I'm stronger than I ever knew, capable of facing whatever comes my way. The scars are still there, but they're a part of me now, reminders of what I've survived. One evening, as I sit on the balcony of my apartment, watching the sun set over the city, I feel a sense of closure. The pain, the betrayal, the heartbreak. It's all in the past now, part of a story that I've finally finished writing. I'm ready to start a new chapter, one where I'm the author of my own life. I've started seeing someone new, a man I met at a coffee shop not far from my apartment. It's nothing serious yet, but there's a connection, a spark that I haven't felt in a long time. He knows about my past, at least the broad strokes of it, and he's been patient, understanding. We're taking things slow, but there's a sense of hope, of something good on the horizon. I'm careful, though. The lessons of the past are still fresh, the wounds still healing. I know better than to let my guard down completely, to trust too easily. But I also know that I can't let fear control me, can't let what happened with Derek define the rest of my life. I'm moving forward step by step, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm on solid ground. As I walk through the city streets, blending into the crowd, I feel a sense of freedom that I haven't felt in years. The future is uncertain, but it's also full of possibilities, and I'm ready to embrace whatever comes next. I'm not the same person I was before all of this happened, and that's okay. I've changed, grown, and in many ways I'm better for it. The woman who stares back at me from shop windows and reflective surfaces is stronger, wiser, and more at peace. She's been through hell and back, but she's still standing, still fighting. And as I disappear into the crowd, a smile on my lips, I know that whatever the future holds, I'm ready for it. The past is behind me, and I'm finally free to live the life I've always wanted, on my own terms. The story may be over, but my journey is just beginning. And for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to see where it takes me.